So, good morning, guys. My name is Norton. If you don't know me already, I am a sophomore and I'm an illustration major, and I work with the Montserrat galleries. And last semester was my first semester working with them, and it's been great so far. So I am introducing Taylor K. Shaw today. She is the founder and CEO of Women Animate, which is an incredible production company that provides Black women, women of color, and non-binary artists with resources and access to those resources necessary in succeeding in the animation industry. She is also the youngest CEO in the animation field, and she has partnered with Cartoon Network to host a bootcamp training day, which was back in October in 2018, that included the opportunity to develop animation skills, and it offered these classes with panels of animators and industry professionals. Her work has really begun to change the standards of media and how we represent our very talented artists of color, and it's only a continuously growing company. So I will let her take over and explain more about it, but please welcome Taylor K. Shaw.
Good. It's still morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all so much for having me. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. It's been such a pleasure to be here thus far. We had an amazing class this morning that listened to me talk on and on around like 8:30. So I greatly appreciate you all. And I just have such, first of all, the show of shows is amazing. I'm so moved and touched by it, and just honored to be in this space with so many powerful artists. I can't wait to see more of your work in the classes that I'm gonna visit later on today. So thank you all for having me, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. So, my story is very unique in that I graduated from journalism school, and I knew one thing: I didn't want to be a journalist. Actually, when I graduated from college, I was clear on that. And I also was clear that I didn't want to get a job, so I only applied to a few. So I'm sure in this moment your professors are wondering, so why did we pay her to come here? But they paid me to come here, and I'll tell you why. It's because, one, I'm a CEO, and I'm living proof that each and every one of you has the capacity to create a life that is guided by your purpose and a representation of the fullness of who you are. A life that's guided by you owning the table with community at the center. So my purpose is to create equity and entertainment for Black women. And I actually came to the seed of that purpose in college. I was traveling the world, working to advance my career as an international storyteller, traveling for the last 2 years of college across both Europe and Africa. And it was during that time that I came closer to myself and moved further away, actually, from my ambition. You see, for me, I was working at one of the very popular news stations in South Africa. And what I found there, even in Africa, was that there were very few people in positions of power that looked like me. And what I was also surprised to find is that there were very few the efforts that were made to center a diverse range of stories were lackluster or just weren't there. So that journey took me into television. I decided, okay, I have this journalism degree, not gonna pursue it because I wanna tell stories in a way that is more authentic and truer to my own life experiences and the experiences of other people that I know. So with that journey, I took myself from Chicago, graduated of Northwestern University, the Medill School of Journalism, took myself from Chicago, did a stint in Atlanta, and had worked on a few television sets. On some of those sets, the cast and crew, a lot of those folks looked like me. But the people who were making decisions, the people who were shaping the final bits of the stories and deciding how everything was going to be run. Those people did not. So even in my journey in working in television, I helped a large media company start their own corporate social responsibility department. And I came to the same understanding. I kept getting clearer and clearer on what I was saying is representation of people that look like me in media, it's just not there. That leads us all to where we are now, Black Women Animate, a company that I founded because, frankly, it didn't exist. I had this idea, I'm going to call it a great idea. I had this idea to create a satirical comedy series based on a show that I know a lot of us love, and it was going to have 2 Black female leads, and I was going to find this miraculous team of Black female animators, and everything was going to be happy dandy, and it was going to happen in a span of 6 months. Well, the reality is that Black women, like many of you in this room, are unicorns. Black women in animation are unicorns, and it's so difficult to find them. And once I started to find them, I found 1, and then that quickly, not so quickly, changed to 3, 5, and then 7. And in that journey of really getting to know a few talented and beautiful artists, I found just how difficult it was for them to have sustainable, lasting careers as artists, in which their voices were heard, their art was truly appreciated and seen, and they had the power to control their narratives. So Black Women Animate is, some will say it might have started as a side hustle, but I'm going to ask all of us to reframe the word side hustle and really think about that work as a tool for change. Black Women Animate started as a collective, and that collective is now a production company that works with most major studios and production companies. Our company creates original content, comes onto projects as work for hire, and also has a thriving training and development division. And the vision for the company is that we, Black women, have the opportunities, the access to resources for us to be able to control and create our narratives. Some beautiful work that we've been able to accomplish as we go into our 3rd year is for the last 2 years, we've been able to partner with Cartoon Network for a training and development day that is designed to build folks' business acumen, skills, and community. That's what we're about. Skills, business acumen, and community. And with that, we had the highest number Cartoon Network or any major studio has ever seen of Black people in the studio. So the stats from our first event in 2018, 51 Black women, 14 Latinx women, 9 Asian American and Pacific Islander women, 1 trans person, and 9 non-binary gender non-conforming folk. And it's really important to me to share those stats because that's just the beginning. Looking at all of your faces, there's so much room for the intersectionality of all of our identities to take space and bravely be placed in the world of animation. Because there's so many beautiful stories that just aren't being told, and you all are the people that are going to tell them. Black Women Animate, we're going into the 3rd year of that event, and it's our plan to expand that and actually create the first Black in Animation Awards, which, it's never happened, this is the first. So we're very excited for continued opportunities to honor, acknowledge, and create more space for brave and bright creatives like yourselves to really own the table. I talk about these conversations and meetings with the Cartoon Networks and Nickelodeons and Pixars of the world. We've been invited to have a seat at that table. But every time I enter one of those rooms, what I notice, what's so clear to me, is that myself as a Black female founder, my presence and the presence of storytellers that look like me, the sting of being an afterthought is what I feel. And from that, you know, the beauty that lies in that is the fuel that I have to own the table and to encourage all of you as young people, young impact-driven people, young community-minded people, to not be afraid to use your voice, to own the table, and to start that process right now. To start it right now. If you all are going to take away anything for what I'm sharing with you today, is that now doesn't start tomorrow. Now starts today. And the beauty and challenge of being a social entrepreneur, taking full control of your artistic journey, being a beacon of hope for other artists in the way that you share the bits and pieces of who you are through story. The beauty of that is that not everyone is always going to believe from the start. Yes, you've heard all of the success that we've had. There's still people that question the viability of what we're building. But the reality is that you know the truth, and you know that your art has the power to change minds, hearts, and connect with people in a way that no one else can. So my dream and my hope and goal for all of you young artists is that you stay steadfast in your journey, always remembering that your vision has to be clear and remain clear if you are going to thrive and encourage other folks to thrive alongside you. When I have my vision of what owning the table looks like, what I see is myself standing in front of a room much similar to this one, in community with all of you, and there are people beside me, and these women look like me. And as I'm being lifted up, it's not just me standing on the stage and I'm actually not at the center. Each and every one of us has a story, and each person has the right to own the table. So what I want to leave you all with today is the knowledge and understanding that owning the table is about combining your passions, your unique abilities, and turning that niche into something that's not only viable, but meaningful, that's lasting, and that will create movement, a movement of change similar to what we've been able to create with Black Women Animate. Thank you. Okay, now it is my time to have a lot of fun. I really would love to open this up for question and answer, but I have the first question. So my question is, how do you all, as artists and professors, also feel free to jump in, how do you all as artists plan to own the table? And please share your name and pronouns.
Hi everyone, I'm Francis. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a photographer here, so like my plan after leaving, not like anytime soon or anything, but like down the line, I would love to have my own photo studio. So that's my take, I guess, of being an owner like you.
Beautiful. And what did I say? You could start that now. Yeah. Start planting the seeds now, because those have been the seeds for me of Black Women Animate started in college. Awesome. Anyone else? There we go.
Hi, I'm Alexis. When I came to school, I was trying to figure out like what exactly I wanted my artwork to look like. And I've realized that a lot of my artwork I wanted to relate to people of minorities, including Black, Asian, Latinx. And I want to see that more in media because, like you said, it's not seen as much. So my goal is to not only just my community, but for other communities who are minorities, to be shown through media and through my animations, and that's my goal.
You're an animator? Awesome. All right. I think I'm going to ask everyone else to project a bit. So I'm not walking around. But yeah, who else wants to share?
So, my name is Josh. I'm an alum. My goals as an illustrator are pretty simple. As a kid, I always like read comic books and stuff, and I was like, I want to do that. So I want to be able to inspire other young black boys to be able to do something else that gets them the bag without having to be like a ball player or a rapper or something like that. Something not necessarily non-conformist, but just a different path in life. So my goal as an artist is always to like inspire younger generations of black boys to be able to be artists and like secure their own futures and pass something on to the next generation.
Yeah. Exposure, like exposing more folks to the fact that, hey, you can be an illustrator.
You can be an illustrator, you can be a comic book artist, you could draw the cool package on the toy that you like and it still be successful. You don't necessarily have to do what everybody around you is telling you what you should do, which is, I mean, for me growing up was always, you know, play ball or, I don't know, be a security guard.
It's like I could be designing the video game.
You could be designing a video game. You could design the box of cereal for your favorite cereal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you can do. Awesome. Thank you all. Does one more person want to share?
Okay.
Hi, I'm Neil. My goal is to just direct a show, and I don't want nothing long, just a quick beginning and great story, like Cowboy Bebop or something. You watch it, you get happy, and you just like cool, and you just remember that forever. I don't want no forever story. I just want something good ending, good beginning, fall in love.
So you're not a fan of the sequel, remake, prequel?
I like them, but sometimes they're just like, just kill them off already.
Like a Quinn and Slim kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I just want a beginning and end. I like endings.
I appreciate that. Awesome. Awesome. Great. So do you all have any, what questions do you all have for me and my journey, and especially specific to animation?
Well, obviously you started off as a journalist, but what made you go towards animation?
Yeah, wrapping journalism school, I realized I had this underlying love for animation that I didn't even know that I had. So I also was a creative writing major, and in me writing some of my own projects, I started to think about, the show's actually the Boondocks. It's a black girl version of the Boondocks that I'm working on. See, that reaction is exactly why it has to happen. And I was telling the class this morning, it's so funny, I started this company, and so the company became the project. What I've been telling everyone is to keep that with that story that you have inside you, like continue to work on that no matter what jobs you have. If that's in your field or not in your field, like keep that. And so for me, I'm gonna live out what I'm telling you all to do and actually make that show. But it just took time because I started Women Animate. But that's really where it came from, loving the Boondocks and like, why does this not have 2 female leads from Chicago? Why is that not a thing? That's where it comes from. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yes.
So I'm curious about when you started up Black Women Animate. You said it was about 3 years ago. So how did your initial networking start off?
Yeah, such a great question. So as I was saying to you all, I started off with one person, and she was actually like a motion designer, a motion graphics designer. She wasn't even a full-on animator. And then I started to build that community of black female animators, specifically in New York to start, because I'm based out of Brooklyn. And that's really where the networking started, with the people. And then we had this really great Teen Vogue article that came out about us, and that really propelled our reach and our connection to a lot of major studios, and it garnered we got a lot of interest from them, because the reality is that a lot of these movies and shows will have productions of like 600 animators, and not one of them will be a black woman. So they're like, where are they? So really, the networking happened just putting myself out there and putting the work out there. And that's what I'll suggest really to all of you is making sure that you have a web presence, making sure that your favorite artists know about you. There's no shame in sliding your work into people's DMs because it's important and it takes time to get there. But once you gain greater visibility, that's really where your network is able to explode and expand. So always putting yourself out there and really allowing your Instagram, funny enough, to be, well, all of you all students know that, but allowing the Instagram to be your resume. So I'd love to follow all of you too. So if you follow me, I will follow you back because I'm an art junkie and I follow so many artists on Instagram constantly.
As a woman and a minority and an artist, how do you deal with just the undertones of prejudice that come with trying to put your work out there and trying to excel in the artistic industry?
Yeah. Ease and grace. Ease and grace, knowing when to respond, knowing when not to respond, and knowing when to walk away. That is very important because, animation has traditionally been a boys' club. Animation has traditionally been a space where we aren't seeing women in general. And so it's really important, like what we're working to do is retrain the industry on how to, or train the industry on how to be inclusive, how to honor other people's stories and include them and consider them in what you put your resources behind. So that work is that work, it goes beyond the actual animation itself. That work is really working to transform the industry, and that's why it's so important for me as the founder and CEO of Black Women Animate to own the table, because oftentimes it's a lot harder to work to change the model within a company. If you're working there, if you're doing your own thing, you have complete control, and then people can look and say, oh, well, you're doing it and it's working. It is working. So you're doing it and it's working. Let's follow your lead. But that really does, it takes time. It takes time. Yeah.
How did the training programs come about? Yeah.
Yes. So that came together because what I was finding is the studios are saying there aren't enough people with experience at a certain level for us to be able to hire. Which is interesting because a lot of people get hired just based off their smile. A lot of people
Lots
get
of opinions.
Yes, I know. A lot of people get hired just based on talent. Anyone can. My philosophy is that anyone can learn anything. You train people and you take the time to do that.
Yeah, I've definitely had a couple people in the industry tell me that you can learn it on the job type of stuff sometimes.
I will be honest with you all. One of the creators of Cartoon Network shows, and Ian, he's worked on Steven Universe and KKO is the show.
Okay.
But Ian and a lot of men that I know in the industry, black or white, whatever, a lot of men I know in the industry did not know what they were doing when they got their job. They faked it till they made it. They didn't.
Definitely what I've been told.
They were on the job. I mean, I've heard this on so many panels. I did one with Mike Hollingsworth, who was the supervising producer of BoJack Horseman. And Mike had no idea what he was doing. He just watched everybody else at work one day after he lied and got the job. And he stayed late and he figured it out. And somehow, miraculously, it looked okay and he had the job the next day. So there's a lot of people that tell us that talent isn't enough. So for me, I know so many talented artists. So the training and development really comes out of meeting the studio's needs and meeting the artist's needs. Wanting to see artists like have the business acumen and know how to sell themselves and their work. And then creating more opportunities to say, hey, industry, like we are providing a stamp of approval on this person's skills. We know they're talented. We know we can do it. They can do it. And so our vision for the boot camp this year, we're going to expand it to 3 days at least. And our vision is that will lead to greater training programs where we can, with our industry partners, if we were to partner with the Disney or Nickelodeon or whoever on the program, that we can create a feeder into studios. Right now, we're really feeding talent onto our original content and the work for hire projects that we get from major studios, so we can really work with artists to, one, I really care about the environment that you all work in. So Black Women Animate is a company that's not just about art, but it's about community. So that's what our projects do, and we're working to meet the needs of those studios and the artist needs, pairing that together through training programs, so then we don't hear, oh, people don't have enough experience.
Right.
There's no, how do we know that they can do the work?
So the initial a certificate kind of saying.
Absolutely, yeah.
Black Women Animate.
Yeah, like a program that you go through, even after college, but one that supports you all. You have a better portfolio, you add to your portfolio of work, and we can show that and advocate on your behalf and say, hey, we believe in this person, look what this person can do, they can do what anyone else can do.
If you don't mind me with a follow-up, so how did you find the, I guess the teachers or the persons for that training program?
Yeah, so for the boot camp, really, because the last 2 years we started off as smaller, we only had 200 participants, so that's why I'm so proud of those stats, and it'll get better. And the Cartoon Network space was only able to hold 200 people, and so with that, we tried to choose Black women in the industry that folks could look up to. So we also boutique manage a few artists. One of those is the director of Mulan 2. Her name is Lynn Sutherland. And so she's actually a Black woman, like the only one who has co-directed a major Disney feature. And so she, this last year, was one of the people that we featured. And then we partner with like Cartoon Network, this other company called 9 Story Media, which you artists should really become familiar with because they do hire people freelance, remote as well. But yeah, we just partner with a bunch of studios and say, hey, you know, we only have a few workshops. For the last 2 years, I think it was between 6 and 8. We only had so many workshops, so we asked to prioritize, you know, centering and making more visible Black female artists. But as it grows, we're really just going to be looking for participation from every studio that wants to increase visibility in the stories that
So through partnering with the studio, they send you the artists?
Through partnering with the studio, we make requests, especially if we know of artists, and they recommend people as well.
Gotcha.
That's how we get the professors for it. And so, and I mean, it's not always professors. Like, you know, we have there's one artist, she's 22, 23, her name's Coxsmith. She got discovered by Disney on Instagram and Twitter. And Kiana, you know, she really built up that web presence and made that happen. She was a fabulous presenter. So, you know, when I say you're never too young and it's never too early, like I can see all of you even this year or in the next couple of years presenting at a Black Women Animate boot camp because you do all have the talent and experience and you all have the capacity to inspire other younger artists to keep going. Yep.
So, how have you seen mainstream methods of like video making, like YouTube or Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, whatever? How have you seen that impact and change the animation industry?
Yes, that's such a great question. We're actually working on a project right now for DreamWorks' YouTube channel. So DreamWorks YouTube channel is called DreamWorks TV. They have a YouTube channel. There's actually several animation companies now that are just YouTube channels that have a ton of funding. So it's really changing the animation industry because, again, it's opening it up and it's like anyone can make great content. And once you have the viewership, who knows what your channel could become? It could become its own studio, its own platform. And then we're also seeing that some of those YouTube channels are being bought by companies. Like Viacom bought this one channel called Awesomeness TV. Great. And so really it opens up the floodgates for more of you all to be able to take control of your artistry, your story, especially if you want to stay here in Boston, and you're like, no LA, no New York, like this is home for me, this is where I'm gonna stay and work. Like it's really up to you as the artist to really, develop your content, your stories, and tell them, and you have control and ownership of them. There's one of my favorite words, intellectual property. You own your intellectual property, and there's honestly nothing like that. The greatest thing about working with the networks and them buying your show is that it gets the greatest visibility, but you lose a ton of control over the story if you don't own it. And so artists, like especially if you start your own photo studio, always charge people. I love talking about these nitty-gritty things, but always charge people if they are going to, like, for the rights to the image. You should make sure you maintain the rights to the image, but if they want to have the rights, then you charge them for that. And there's photographers have crazy rules about how they charge people. Like one photographer for us, we were in Emmy magazine, and he was like, okay, you can pay to be able to use them for 3 months, and then after that, you have to pay again
$10
for
for use.
Oh yes, a lot more than that for use. Yeah. So just make sure you find out about that, because that keeps the overhead for the photo studio going. Yeah.
How do you see the company growing in the future?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So we're going into the 3rd year, and a lot of companies fail. I think the stat is after 3 years. So what I see for Black, and that's just, does that feel dark? It's just a stat that I don't like to say it, I have to know it. We're going to our 3rd year. And it's okay. Or it takes, I think the stat maybe it takes at least 3 years for you to become profitable. It takes time. And so that's another reason why I say start now, because you learn so much in those first years. And it takes time to build something. It really, really does. So what I see for the company is that now we identify as a production company. I see us growing to becoming an animation studio, where we're really able to, right now we work with regularly, I would say maybe 10 to 15 artists, but where we're able to work more regularly with a larger group of artists. And hopefully, a lot of artists that we've been able to cultivate through our training and development efforts. Like I said, I'm familiar with so many people's work, and I have no shame still in DMing artists and saying, I love your work, let's work together. That's just how passionate I am about all of you all, and I want to see you thrive. And so that's really what I see the company being, a space where more artists can work with us, and where we're a studio. Yeah. So we'll see where that physical location is going to be. I'm thinking Atlanta, honestly, because they have great tax breaks. But
Isn't that what the kind of pyramid is at?
oh yeah, that I have to go see it. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like bigger than all the lots in LA put together.
Huh.
Yeah. And he has tax breaks. It's great. Which is great because for animation, at least, so what you all will find is like a lot of the core animation for shows, the initial character designs, the boards, the backgrounds, all of that original, and the character development itself, all of that original work is usually done here in America at whatever studio. But a lot of the technical animation itself, they outsource abroad because it's a lot cheaper. And so you'll see a lot of artists either try to move to Korea or Ireland or Canada because a lot of jobs are there. But yeah, a lot of work for animation is being outsourced. So that's just good for you animators in the room to be aware of, because a lot of LA studios especially are moving to just having their core teams for the show's development present and outsourcing some of that animation. Yeah. Do you have a comment? No? No.
I just react to things sometimes.
No, it's great. It's important.
I'm listening, you know.
I know you're listening, yeah. I know you're listening. Awesome. Do you have any more questions, maybe in the back? Comments in the back?
I do just kind of have almost an unanswerable question, but what, as a producer, CEO, entrepreneur looking at 19 jillion different artists every single year, what are the things that capture your attention? What are those X factors that you feel like jump out at you?
Yeah, ooh, I had chills when you said that. For me, I look for artists that have a voice. Like, I look for artists that aren't trying to be anyone else, that just work in their style and really feel connected to that style and can voice like how they came upon it. But really, when I look at someone's work and I can just like remember it, sometimes I won't even remember people's names, but I'll remember their reels. And then somebody will send the reel back to me, and I'm like, oh, I saw this reel like a few months ago, because the voice of the work is so strong. And then I also look, as a startup, I also look for artists that are versatile, artists who can do a bunch of different styles, because we do get a lot of different requests. And sometimes I just don't have the time or capacity to look for 10 different artists. And so I look for artists also that are versatile and I can do quite a bit. I know I might have said just like opposing thoughts, but I do look for both. So I do look for artists that are versatile. So if you're one of those artists, like a lot of those artists who are versatile, their Instagrams don't necessarily reflect that. So it's kind of tricky and maybe a little bit, well, it's not unanswerable, but a little, because I look for both. I look for versatility and I look for voice. So that can be challenging because on one hand I said I look for a consistent voice and I look for artists who, like, as more immediately, as we're a startup, I look for artists who can do a lot. So I guess it's on you all to figure out how to show both of us.
Cool. Unless there are any other questions, thank you all so much. Thank you, Taylor. That was spectacular.
And we're just Black Women Animate on Instagram, but it's not spelled straight out, so it's BLK WMN Animate ANIMATE. And if you give the account a follow, I'll make sure that we follow all of you back, because we'd love to stay plugged into your work, whether it's photography or animation or anything. We'd love to stay plugged in. And thank you all so much.
Thank you.